This one is going to be raw and unfiltered. This isn't really a business or marketing related video. I've been wanting to make this video for a while now because I get a lot of questions from women on Instagram about divorce and all the related stuff. It's going to be raw, which means it's also going to be triggering for some of you, if not all of you. And if conversations like these aren't really your cup of tea, it's best to leave the video and do something else or go on and watch something else. Sometimes I really don't understand why some people watch my videos or read my carousels on Instagram only to then get upset at me because I'm speaking my truth and it makes them uncomfortable. So here's a fair trigger warning. I'm going to address a few questions that I tend to get. The first one is, when did you know it's time to leave, or why did you leave? Both of them are interrelated. Contrary to popular belief, women don't just up and leave their marriages. Especially in India, there is this narrative that women who leave marriages or moms who leave marriages are extremely selfish. They just don't care about the kids, or they don't care about their husband, or etc. etc. You know the deal. However, many of us don't file for divorce because we don't like a silly little thing about our husband or about our in-laws. No. It's usually one thing after the other, after the other, after the other. Basically, there's a lot of violence. And by violence, I don't just mean physical violence. There's emotional violence or cruelty, there's financial cruelty, there's disrespect of our physical, personal boundaries, there's disrespect of our values, of our dreams and ambitions, and of the things that we want to do in life. I don't think Indians in general, of course I'm generalizing here, Indians in general do not understand the meaning of marriage. They think it's just finding a woman who will do all the work inside the house and now outside the house as well, bring in a lot of money with her in gifts, and basically is a 24/7 maid for the man and the man's mom, parents or in-laws in general, if you are living in a joint family. When really marriage is a partnership of two people, of a man and a woman coming together and growing together. A lot of us are, or at least where I come from, we are married really, really young. Like, I got engaged when I was just 19, and then I got married when I was just 21. He was 29 at the time. I personally, although I lived and worked in Dubai and educated abroad and all of that, I still was a kid. I was a child, and I was still figuring out things. I was still living, learning, making mistakes, and suddenly there's this humongous responsibility called marriage thrust upon me with a man that I had never met before. So from the parents of a daughter's point of view, it's more about passing on the burden of raising a daughter to somebody else because, girls and women are a burden for a lot of Indian families. And when it comes to the man and his family, it's about finding someone to do all the stuff that the mother of the man doesn't want to do anymore. So it's more of like marrying a maid or a caretaker rather than a partner. There's no partnership, there's no concept of growing together, learning together, and learning together. Let's not even talk about therapy or couples counseling that ideally should be done before marriage. A lot of times couple counseling happens only after the things have got extremely bad, or because the court is asking the man and the wife to get into couples counseling. It's never proactive, it's always a reactive measure when things are already sort of in the bin, so to speak. So, that in itself is a huge issue, isn't it? To answer the question, what made me decide, it wasn't one thing, it was multiple things. And in order to tell you what those things are, that's going to take my lifetime, I guess, because I was married for 17 plus years, engaged for 2 years, so that's nearly 2 decades of my youth and my life. By the way, if you're new here, I am a 41-year-old single mom. I filed for divorce when I was 38. In 2022, June is when I filed for divorce. So I spent a good chunk of my life with him, like half of my life with him and his family. So there's a lot to unpack, and I don't want to get into all of that. But I would love to remind everyone that women do not leave marriages because of one single thing. It's generally because of multiple things. Like, she was probably violated, again, physically, mentally, emotionally, financially, spiritually, multiple times. Not because of one thing. And I wish we left sooner. Like, I wish I had left sooner and not given him chances after chances. I applaud women who do leave immediately, because that takes an immense amount of courage. A lot of us leave, or a good majority of us, especially those of us with children, leave only after multiple violations. I'm intentionally using the word violence because it is a violation, right? And I don't want to sugarcoat things which were extremely difficult for me. And honestly, I wouldn't wish what happened to me to anyone, even my enemies. That is not the kind of life or married life I would wish upon anyone. And I know there are women who have gone through even bigger cruelty than I had to. And that's not something I would wish upon anyone. Sometimes I get messages from sisters or cousins or friends of women who are going through difficult marriages, and they're like, you know what, I want her to leave. We've been asking her to leave, but she's not leaving. And I tell them, but that is not your decision to make, that is her decision to make. The reason why a lot of people think this way is because they do not understand how abuse, trauma bonding, and all sorts of things psychologically is happening inside a relationship. There are things that I realized about my marriage only after leaving it. Like, after physically exiting the marriage is when a lot of things became clear to me. Because many times when we are in an abusive relationship or marriage, we don't really understand what's going on. We don't have the vocabulary sometimes, or the awareness sometimes, to understand what is going on. I mean, I got lucky because I decided to seek therapy. And I decided to seek therapy because I was in a very depressed, and I don't throw around words like depression lightly. I was very depressed during and after the 4th pregnancy. In my case, it was the 4th pregnancy that gave me the courage to leave. But even then, it took me a while to get to divorce. Before that, I sought therapy. I found a good therapist. She was actually my second therapist. And it was during therapy I started realizing how wrong things are. It's not that I didn't know things are wrong, but it was through therapy that I found the courage to actually look at things and sit with things and admit to myself that what's happening to me it's not right. It's not something a human should be doing to another human, let alone a husband or the father of your children. So if you have a family member or a friend who is in an abusive relationship and you are like, no, she has to leave, but she's not listening, you have to give her some time. ultimately it is upon the woman or the man in the abusive relationship to leave. We cannot force anyone. In fact, forcing is not going to be good for you either, because let's say she leaves after hearing your advice and then she's like, I left because of you, and she makes you responsible. That's a huge responsibility to undertake as well, isn't it? I hope that answers that first question of how did you know when to leave? Then the question is, I want to leave, but I don't know how. What do I do next? Or how do I move out of this relationship, move out of this marriage? For that, what I generally say is there are 3 things you will have to do. The trifecta, so to speak. One is you will have to start getting therapy. You will have to find a really good therapist, ideally someone with experience in divorce. Why? Because you need the mental clarity. You have to get back your self-confidence and self-esteem. If the marriage was difficult, divorce is going to be even more difficult. Like these men, not all men, but you get what I mean. These men, their cruelty goes through the roof when you actually decide to get a divorce. So up until divorce, like up until I filed for divorce, he was like, let's get a divorce. I don't want to be in this marriage. His mom used to threaten my mother with talaq. So I was like, okay, fine. We've been talking about this for a really long time. Let's just get this done. So when I filed for divorce, I became the villain. So suddenly I'm the one who wanted a divorce. They didn't want one. Then comes the whole child support, visitation, and splitting your assets, or, returning all their stuff. And my goodness, no matter how cool, calm, and collected you are, this person and his family and their lawyers are going to make it extremely difficult on you. So you need a professional who can get you through those kind of situations. Your parents, your friends generally do not have the training that is required to help you pass through these difficult situations. So you need therapy. So of the trifecta, the first thing is therapy. The second is you need a bucket load of money. I wish there was another way. But if you aren't already earning, you'll have to start earning. Find a way to make money. And thankfully, we live in a world where we can sell our skills online. I make money by selling my skills as an Instagram strategist. All right, if you're good at English, start teaching spoken English classes. If you're good at math, start taking math tuitions. I don't care what you do, but you have to start earning money. And you will have to have more than what you think you would need. But it doesn't have to be like a huge amount in the bank. No, you need what I call freedom number. Basically, something that will last you for 6 months or 12 months. And this can vary from person to person. Like in my case, I have 4 children, which means I need more than a mother who would need to take care of 2 children. You don't need lakhs or crores in your bank account to leave, because obviously you're going to continue earning after the divorce as well. But you do need some amount of money so that you're not dependent on others. By the way, I would never say that don't ask your parents for money. It's completely okay to ask your parents for money. You are their responsibility. But you get the idea. If you don't want to keep asking someone, or if you want to feel safe and there's less stress, because money can literally buy your happiness, isn't it? Leaving an unhealthy relationship is a path to happiness. So you need money for that. So that's the second thing on the trifecta. I don't know whether you can hear the rooster of my neighbors. They keep me company every time I'm trying to take a video. What's the third thing? Lawyer. You need a really good lawyer, and good divorce lawyers are not easy to find. There are plenty of divorce lawyers. In fact, I keep hearing that lawyers do not have enough work, but then I have women after women coming in my DMs and asking for lawyers' recommendations. I wouldn't recommend My divorce lawyer, she lacked empathy. She was honestly adding to the cruelty of what ex-husband was already doing. So I wouldn't recommend her. And another thing I want to tell you here is that just because it's a woman, or just because it's a Muslim woman, or belongs to the same religion or caste or community as you, doesn't mean that they will have your best interest. What you need is a shrewd lawyer, the kind of lawyers that we see in movies. I wish I didn't have to say this, but that's the truth. You do need a really good lawyer, and lawyers can also, good lawyers can also cost a lot of money. But that's nothing compared to the freedom that you're going to get after divorce. The third question I tend to get, and I don't get this a lot, but I do once in a while, is what is life like after divorce? Life after divorce is very peaceful. It's difficult. You don't have a man. Even if you are in an abusive marriage, the funny thing in India is that having a man next to you gives you a lot of privileges, which is no more in the case of a divorced woman or a divorced mother. Society will make it difficult for you when they realize that you don't have a man behind you. But all of that is nothing in comparison to what the dash all marriage was. So it's like a small price to pay, if you know what I mean. Oops. I get a lot more done now. There's more responsibility on me, especially as a mother of 4. I know most of you do not have 4 children, but I have a lot more responsibilities. But I also get a lot more done because I don't have another adult stopping me from doing the things that is good for me and my children. This is the first time in my life I've had a scenario, or the opportunity where I can do whatever I want and not be worried about how him or his family is going to take it, or even my family for that matter. I've become apni marzi kebab or apni marzi keema. And that is exhilarating. It's scary. It was scary initially, but it's exhilarating as well. Especially for someone like me who never lived on her own or had very limited opportunities to do things on her own. Because I got married right after my graduation, and I actually completed my post-graduation as a married woman. So I didn't really get to live outside of my family or, figure things out on my own. A lot of women are now delaying marriages so that they can focus on their career, live alone, buy property and all of that. So I didn't get that chance when I was young, but I'm getting it now, and it is awesome. Now, there are times when I do wish there was another adult in the house, because it can get very emotionally and mentally taxing to be the good cop, bad cop with the kids, while also doing the groceries, while also cooking. There are times when I do wish there was another adult, but I do not want the wrong adult anymore. I want the right adult. You want the right person, the right support. Yeah, that's the word I was looking for. You want the right support. You don't want just support. You want the right support, and I've become very particular about it. I'm like, I would rather raise my children alone than with the wrong support. Oh yeah, before I go, this is specifically to those of you who aren't married or who are looking to get married, or who are married but haven't had children yet. When you are marrying someone, you're not just getting a partner for you, you're also determining your children's childhood, your children's father, which means if your ideologies, perspectives, values, when it comes to both the small things and the big things do not match, it's going to be very difficult. Not just for you, but also for your children, if you're planning to have children, that is. So it's not just about finding a partner or spending the rest of your life with someone. And this applies to both men and women. But it's also about giving your children a good, healthy childhood. The last thing I want for my children is to go to therapy because of me. I don't want them spending their adult years recovering from an abusive marriage of their parents. So marriage is not a small thing. I wish people understood, Indian folks understood that. They just keep pushing us into marriage as if it's the best thing out there. It is, only if you have the right partner. Otherwise, it's going to affect generations after generations. So invest in marriage only if you believe that the person in front of you is the right fit for you. Otherwise, it's best to stay single or wait. All right, I'll see you soon. Ciao.